Hi friends, welcome to Interactive Medicine. In this section, we are going to discuss about the brain development, and also we talk about the organization, uh, like the gray matter, white matter. Okay, and let's go to our discussion, the brain development. And to understand how the adult brain named and connected, it is essential to know how the brain develops. Brain forms from cranial part of neural tube. We have three likely the germinal layer. We have three germinal layers, namely the ectoderm, mesoderm, and the endoderm. And you can see from the ectoderm, the brain is going to be developed. Okay, and you can see in late fourth week, three primary brain vesicles are going to be formed. The number is crucial, that is three. So what is that? Prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon. And also in fifth week, you can see five secondary brain vesicles. In fifth week, you have five secondary brain vesicles, which means that from the primary brain vesicles, there is going to be additional two vesicles are going to be formed. For a pneumonia, we can study that 3D tribulum, and you can differentiate MES, MECH, and MI. Okay, that is why I wrote SUY, because you may be confused which one is going to be first. That is MES, then MECH, then MI. Okay, the secondary brain vesicles are T stands for telencephalon, and the D stands for diencephalon, and the M stands for mesencephalon, and the second M stands for metencephalon, then third M stands for myelencephalon. Not only of primary vesicle does not new form secondary vesicle. It is renamed the midbrain. Okay. Okay, we can go to a diagram here. Okay, you can see in the fourth week, you can see here is our baby's central nervous system. You can see this portion. This is going to be processor around. You can see in late 4 weeks these things, and mesencephalon. You can see here mesencephalon, and also you can see the rhombencephalon, and the remaining portion is going to be your spinal cord. Okay, late fourth week, it is important. Okay, and the three primary vesicles are prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and the rhombencephalon. If you take the secondary brain vesicle in the fifth week, five secondary brain vesicles in fifth week, so you can, it's not hard to remember. Okay, you can see that from the prosencephalon. I will draw here. Okay, this is your prosencephalon, and this is going to be your mesencephalon, and finally the rhombencephalon. From the prosencephalon in secondary vesicle, there is two additional vesicles going to be formed, which means that there is a division, or two secondary vesicles are going to be formed here. That is named telencephalon. And another one is diencephalon. From the mesencephalon, there is no secondary vesicle is going to be formed, so we can write as it is. Mesencephalon from the rhombencephalon, sorry. From the rhombencephalon, again, two vesicles is going to be formed. That is, I wrote mes, then met, then my. Okay, metencephalon, then myelencephalon. Okay, I think you got this point. Okay, you can see that telencephalon here, telencephalon, and the diencephalon, and you can see the mesencephalon. There is no secondary brain vesicle from mesencephalon, but you can see uh, secondary vesicle from the rhombencephalon, that is metencephalon, and to be myelencephalon. The remaining part will be spinal cord. Okay, and you can see I will come to here. Okay, we can discuss this diagram. From the neural tube, we have cranial part and the caudal part. The caudal part is going to be formed neural canal, that is your spinal cord is going to be from the caudal part. From the cranial part of the neural tube, the development of primary brain vesicles is going to be happening in fourth vesicle, so the fourth week, and we can see the prosencephalon, that is forebrain, it's going to be form the forebrain, and the mesencephalon going to be form the midbrain, and the rhombencephalon going to be form the hindbrain. Okay, in the fifth week, the secondary brain vesicles is going to be formed. Okay, from the prosencephalon you can see telencephalon and diencephalon is going to be formed. From the telencephalon you can see cerebrum is the structure is going to be formed, and the diencephalon it's going to be formed epithalamus, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Okay, you can draw here. From the prosencephalon you can form, okay, consider this is your thalamus, epithalamus, and hypothalamus. From the diencephalon, these structures are going to be formed. Diencephalon, these structures are going to be formed. And telencephalon, you can see the cerebrum is going to be formed. And mesencephalon, that is going to be formed midbrain. This is our midbrain. Okay, mesencephalon, and you have two more portions, that is metencephalon and the myelencephalon. It is originated from the rhombencephalon, and from the metencephalon pons is going to be formed, pons, and also you can see cerebellum behind, and also from the myelencephalon the medulla is going to be formed. This is medulla. Okay, you can see some canals or cavities inside the brain, and these cavities are neural canal derivatives, and namely lateral ventricle, third ventricle, cerebral aqueduct, fourth ventricle, and it has this two portions, superior part and the inferior part. So if I draw, make it is easy for you, I will draw, and you can see this is our lateral ventricle. From the lateral ventricle we have two lateral ventricles. This is a corona view. coronal view. Okay, from the lateral ventricle, third ventricle is going to be formed. Third ventricle is located between the thalami, and the connection between your lateral ventricle and the third ventricle is foramen of Monro. Foramen of Monro. From the third ventricle you have a connection here to the fourth ventricle. This is fourth ventricle. Okay, this canal is going to be formed, namely cerebral aqueduct. And fourth ventricle have two parts. This is superior part and this is inferior part. Okay, understand? Okay. From the neural canal derivative of telencephalon is lateral ventricle. And this is our third ventricle. You have lateral ventricle here. From lateral ventricle, the CSF is drained to the third ventricle. It's a cavity. Okay, third ventricle is a cavity, and these ventricles are cavities. And we have cerebral aqueduct. Cerebral aqueduct. This is cerebral aqueduct, and you have the fourth ventricle, and it has two portions. It has two portions, the superior portion and the inferior portion. Okay, let's look. Lateral ventricle is located in the cerebrum. Okay, understand? Lateral ventricle is located in the cerebrum, and lateral ventricle is the derivative of telencephalon. And epithalamus, thalamus, hypothalamus, you can see there is a ventricle that is known to be third ventricle. Third ventricle. Between thalami you can see the third ventricle, and midbrain you can see midbrain. In the midbrain you can see the cerebral aqueduct. The organs near to cerebral aqueducts are cerebral peduncles, superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. I will show you. Okay, and metencephalon. Metencephalon or the pons or cerebellum. You can see the fourth ventricle superior part, and medulla oblongata you can see the inferior part of the fourth ventricle. Okay. Okay, you can see in the 13th week you can see the development of cerebrum here, and the outline of the diencephalon, the midbrain, and the cerebellum and the pons, and finally our medulla oblongata. In 26th of week you can see how the comparison between 13 weeks and the 26 weeks of cerebrum, and also you can see the development of the cerebrum at the time of birth is going to be large, and you can see gyrus, you can see sulcus in the cerebrum, and the diencephalon is going to be here. You can see diencephalon and the midbrain and the pons. You can see the medulla. These are medulla, midbrain, and your diencephalon or the thalamus included. Thalamus, epithalamus, hypothalamus regions. Okay. Finally, I want to show you in the just an anatomy of the brain. If you take, you can see the cerebral hemispheres. Cerebral hemisphere, you can see the cerebrum. And in the developed cerebrum you can see gyrus, sulcus. You can see sulcus here, this sulcus, and parieto-occipital sulcus. And we have in the cerebrum we have 5 lobes, namely the frontal lobe. You can see the parietal lobe here, and the temporal lobe, the occipital lobe, and inside you can see a 5th lobe, that is insula. Okay, if you take out this portion you can see insula, or you can, if you take this portion you can see the insula. Okay, this is the inferior base of the cerebrum, and the cerebellum. You can see pons and the medulla and the portion of the spinal cord. We can talk this later in our classes. And you can see the ventricles here. The diencephalon is going to be include interthalamic adhesion, and the thalamus and the hypothalamus. Here is our lateral ventricle. Here is the third ventricle locates. Third ventricle. And this is cerebral aqueduct. This is going to be cerebral aqueduct. And finally you can see the 4th ventricle, its superior position, and the inferior portion of the 4th ventricle. Okay, and during the embryonic and fetal periods, the telencephalon grows rapidly and envelops the diencephalon. As the future brain develops, its surface becomes folded, especially in the telencephalon, leading to the formation of adult sulci and gyri. So the learning strategy: when reviewing the embryonic development of the brain, note that during the 5th week of development, 5 secondary brain vesicles form. So the second portion of the section is organization of neural tissue in the brain. Okay, 2 dissected areas of neural tissue, that is the gray matter and the white matter. The gray matter houses motor neurons, and the interneuron cell bodies generates terminal arborization and unmyelinated axons. So generally we can say that gray matter, which includes predominantly the cell bodies of the neuron. Okay, from the neuron you can see some fibers. This is going to be, it's a long fiber. You can say long neuronal fiber. This is called axon. A single one is known as axon. Okay, we know we have nervous system. It contains 2 parts. What is that? Central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. In central nervous system we have 2 parts, the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, in peripheral nervous system we have the sensory nervous system and the sensory nervous system and motor nervous system. Okay, and the bundle of axons. Within the central nervous system called tract. I said here, you can see bundle of axons. Okay, the bundle of axons within the central nervous system known as tract, and the bundle of axons within the peripheral nervous system known as nerve. The collection of nerve, the collection of nerve is nerve plexus. And you can add one more thing about tract. Tract, I already said, bundle of axons in central nervous system, and it has common origin and common termination. We can discuss about this thing about later in detail, but if you take this thing, tract, central nervous system axon bundle, in which the axons have a similar function and share a common origin and destination from the brain. Okay, I am taking here is our brain and the spinal cord, you can see, and from the brain so many tracks is going to become, and it is a bundle of axons. It is a bundle of axons. Okay, and you can see this thing in the white matter, bundle of axons. It has common origin and the common termination. For an example, another one, this is also a tract. It is a bundle of axons which have common origin and the common termination. And when we come back to our topic, white matter derives its color from myelin in the myelinated axons. Okay, and within the masses of white matter, the brain also contains discrete internal clusters of gray matter called cerebral nuclei, which are oval, spherical, or sometimes irregularly shaped clusters of neuron cell bodies. And this is going to be named as, we can say, the collection of the neuron cell bodies is known as nuclei. You can see the gray matter. Gray matter has two parts, the cortex and the cerebral nuclei. Cerebral nuclei are located deep, and the cortex, you can see these are the aggregations of neuron cell bodies. That's why its color is gray color. And from the neuron cell bodies, the bundle is going to become, the axon bundle is going to become, and that's why its color is going to be white. It is myelinated sheets of neuronal axons. And in white matter, you can see the inner white matter, this one, and here is our corpus callosum. You can see some fibers. These fibers are going to be connect the left and right cerebral hemisphere, and you can see this is our internal capsule. Internal capsule also contains some fibers. It's important, we can discuss it later, but general, when we take this section, I'm going to be section our cerebrum in a coronal view, and the cerebellum and the medulla oblongata here, and the section of the spinal cord we can view. We can see how it is arranged. So if we look here, the you can see the gray matter is locates in the outside in the cortex region, and white matter inside, and the cerebral nuclei are the collection of the cell bodies. It's located deep. Each one have different names, we can talk later. and cortex, gray matter, and the inner gray matter. You can see the cortex of the cerebellum. This is our brainstem. This is the brainstem. This is the cerebellum. Okay, cerebellum, and here is the cortex. It is gray matter and the inner gray matter. You can see some inner gray matter, and also there is white matter locates, which means that the tracts, which is the bundle of axons, that is its white. Okay, if you look into the brainstem, you can see the fourth ventricle here and the arrangement of gray matter. This is going to be outer gray matter and the inner gray matter. You can see the white matter, thus white matter locates in the mid brainstem, and this is our medulla oblongata, the section of the medulla oblongata, and we have medulla have also fourth ventricle, the portion of the inferior portion of the fourth ventricle. You can see the inner gray matter and the outer white matter. In this section the white matter is going to be in out, it's not inside. Spinal cord section. In the spinal cord section you can see the central canal. Through this canal the CSF is circulating, and also you can see a notable point that the gray matter is going to be inside and white matter is going to be in outside. Okay, we can discuss about this one. Ganglion. Ganglion is a cluster of neuronal cell bodies within the peripheral nerve system. So the nucleus is the center in the central nervous system that plays discrete anatomic boundaries, and it is a collection of neuronal cell bodies. And the center is also a group of neuronal cell bodies with a common function, which means olfactory center, vision center, etc. And the nerve, the axon bundle extending through the peripheral nervous system, and the nerve plexus is the network of nerves in the peripheral nervous system. Funicles, you can see funicles is a group of tracts in a specific area of the spinal cord. You can see okay, consider this is our dorsal funiculus. Dorsal funiculus, this is dorsal funiculus, and this is lateral funiculus, going to be lateral funiculus. So here is our lateral funiculus. Here is our lateral funiculus, and we can draw the anterior funiculus. Okay, anterior funiculus, and you can see this is a white matter and it contains different types of tracts. For example, you can see from the lateral funiculus, the lateral spinothalamic tract. For example, lateral spinothalamic tract. So I already said that it is a group of neurons, neuronal axons, and it has common origin and common ending, and it transmits the impulse from the spine to the thalamus. Okay, if you take the dorsal column, you can also see some tracts for gracillae, cuneus tracts. It's also a bundle of axons and with have common origin and common ending. And pathways are the centers and tracts that connects the central nervous system with the body and organs. That is the pathway. Brain and spinal cord and other body parts. From the receptor, the stimulus is coming, and we have peripheral nervous system, and we have special conducting system which transmit the impulse to the central nervous system. This is known as ascending pathway. So it includes both the center and the tracts that connects the central nervous system with body, organs and systems. And we have motor response. From the brain we have motor response and to the body parts, and we take further actions. This is known as descending pathway. So descending pathway includes the center and the tracts, okay, which connects the central nervous system with body and with body organs and systems. Okay, the peduncle is a stalk-like structure composed of tracts connecting the two regions of the brain. You have mainly two kinds of peduncle. First one is cerebral peduncle, which you can see. The cerebral peduncle is connecting the midbrain or the brainstem with your cerebrum. Brainstem and the cerebrum. And you have cerebellar peduncles. And you have superior, middle and inferior cerebellar peduncles, which connects the cerebellum to the brainstem. Okay friends, I think this video is helpful for you. If you have any doubt, you can ask me and you can make a comments in the comment section. Have a nice day. Thank you.